We have the news that 4 organisations are going to be suing the NHS over the Federated Data Platform. This is, of course, the FDP, which we have recently learnt last week that Palantir got awarded the contract to be the supplier of that. So we need to talk about what's actually happening here, what it could mean for Palantir, and we've also got some interesting commentary and remarks that were made in response to this by an NHS spokesperson. So let's get straight into it. If you want to be a part of a fantastic community of like-minded investors, then consider joining the Patreon. You'll get access to the Discord by becoming a Patreon member, but you'll also get notified every single time I buy or sell any position in my portfolio. On top of that, every single Saturday, you will get a portfolio update from me. This will share an insight into how my portfolio is doing, but also some market commentary and explanations of exactly why my portfolio is performing the way it is. If you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description. Now let's get back to the video. So this is the article that talks about the lawsuit that the NHS is facing. This was published by The Guardian. So let's just take a look here. NHS England faces lawsuit over patient privacy fears linked to new data platform. 4 groups claim no legal basis exists for setting up the FDP, Federated Data Platform, which facilitates information sharing. You will already see there that this is being poised as a way to share people's data, which isn't really the case if you know anything about the FDP or you've been following Palantir. Let's continue. The NHS has been accused of breaking the law by creating a massive data platform that will share information about patients. We knew this was going to happen. We've spoken about this on this channel many times before about how there is this public concern, but more importantly than that, different organizations and different media outlets are very much portraying this as a way that a big US spy company is getting their hands on UK public data and then they're going to be sharing it, selling it, and using it illegally. We know that that's not the case. We know that Palantir literally does not have access to this data to do those things even if they wanted to. They are a company that has been trusted with the most confidential classified data out there, so it's a little bit unfair to paint this picture, but we knew this was going to happen. Let's just continue here. NHS England sparked controversy last week when it handed the £330 million contract to establish and operate the FDP for 7 years from next spring to Palantir, the US spy tech company. This is the way that Palantir are being portrayed in the British media quite a lot at the moment. I don't know if it's happening anywhere else around the world, but of course, if the average person in the community is going to read this, and The Guardian is massive, they are going to believe that there is this big US spy company that now have access to their data. The average person is not going to and can't be expected to actually research Palantir to know enough about them and research the FDP to be comfortable with this and all of its benefits. So it's really, really unfortunate. The platform involves software that will allow health service trusts and also integrated care systems or regional groupings of trusts to share information much more easily in order to improve care. Yeah, that's the point of the FDP. Bring all of the information that is so disjointed into one place to help the patients out. So patients don't have to repeat their patient information every single time they move through the stages of the NHS. Reducing waiting times. Reducing the time it takes to send someone home, easing the staff burden so that staff members can actually focus on helping the patients rather than doing time-wasting admin type activities. There's so many benefits. NHS England says the platform will help hospitals tackle the 7.8 million strong backlog of care they are facing and enable them to discharge patients sooner who are medically fit to leave. It's almost like I read ahead there. I didn't. But this may be the first in a series of legal actions prompted by fears that the FDP could lead to branches of sensitive patient health information and ultimately lead to data being sold. I am very, very up for people questioning things and taking legal action to protect people and to protect their data, because data is literally the new gold. So much data now, and it is being sold by a lot of big companies. However, at this stage, with the information that we know, I just don't know what ground they would be doing this on, because the evidence is there saying that Palantir is not doing this. Rosa Curlin, director of Foxglove. Foxglove is, of course, one of the major groups that were very anti the FDP and anti Palantir, a campaign group that monitors big tech which is coordinating the lawsuit, said the government has gambled $330 million on overhauling how NHS data is handled, but bizarrely seems to have left off the bit where they make sure the system is lawful. You can't just massively expand access to confidential patient data without making sure you also follow the law. Now, gambling is an interesting one because if this works, which I believe it will, based on the pilot schemes that we've seen, Palantir working with other healthcare organisations, all of that stuff, it wouldn't be gambling it. It would be improving the NHS, making the NHS better, and ultimately helping patients save lives, helping doctors save patient lives, which is quite a big deal. Now, it says you can't massively expand access to confidential patient data. That is not really what the FDP is doing. It's not just sharing data and, sharing confidential data, but let's continue. Ministers must get parliamentary approval for the FDP before it proceeds. In order for it to be lawful, she added. Government must go back to the Parliament to set proper rules for sharing the data in this system. I am all about there being restrictions and data protection acts in place to be there for when this happens. Palantir, in general, just speaking generally, they have a lot of functions and capabilities within their platforms to actually restrict certain users seeing certain things. Like I said, they work with some of the most confidential and classified data out there. Until they do so, they are breaking the law. Until they are crystal clear about how they will honour patients' rights to opt in or out, they are on a crash course with the public. The FDP isn't really something that you can just opt out of, as far as I understand, and what the NHS has said, because it's literally what doctors and healthcare staff will use to see information. So if they can't see your information, then you can't really be treated. Lawyers acting for Foxglove, the Doctors Association UK, it's a lot of people, have sent a pre-action letter to DAC Beechcroft, the firm of solicitors which NHS England has retained to handle legal matters involving the platform. Unless the NHS can satisfy them in a reply that it does have the legal powers to set up the FDP, the four groups will ask the High Court to launch a review of the lawfulness of NHS's decision to do so. Okay, then we've got Hope, who is a Just Treatment spokesperson, saying the trust that is vital to good patient care and the whole of the healthcare system is being trashed by the government strategy to force this through. Obviously, in the UK, we've had care.data happen in the past, which kind of destroyed trust, so maybe that's where this is coming from. Ministers had failed to take or had deliberately avoided taking the steps needed to give the FDP a sound legal footing, as it would have involved them being held to some public account for the transformation changes it will unleash on our health data. NHS England dismissed the four organisations' concerns as totally incorrect and insisted that it did have the legal authority to press ahead. I don't know why they wouldn't. The NHS wouldn't have the right legal authority to go ahead with something like this. That doesn't make sense for me, and the concerns are they are totally inaccurate in terms of the actual way that an FDP works and Palantir's involvement. It just doesn't do this, the things that they're saying. It's kind of black and white. An NHS spokesperson said, this letter fundamentally misunderstands how the FDP will operate. Yeah, literally. And is totally incorrect in both matter of fact and law. In both matters of law and fact, sorry. The platform will use only existing data legally collected by the NHS to support direct patient care, which is lawful under all relevant data protection regulations. I am glad that an NHS spokesperson actually had their say and explained that all the concerns just don't make sense. They are not actually accurate. They are not correct. But we're just going to have to wait and see. We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, what actually happens. As far as I'm aware, at the moment, Palantir still have this contract. It's still all okay. These are just concerns that we kind of knew would come up, and we knew that there would be some sort of lawsuit trying to happen after Palantir got awarded this contract. Of course, I'll keep you guys up to date with the latest Palantir information, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on any of that. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll be back shortly with another one.